Welcome to the Ghost Tea Podcast. I'm your host, Ariel Willow, a clairvoyant since childhood, paranormal investigator, and witch. Today we're going to talk about shadow work. Before we jump in, I want to remind you that everyone has different views on things, and that's okay. I don't ask you to believe what I do. I just want to share what I've found in my personal path with others. Shadow work is a very popular topic within spiritual communities nowadays, and there's a reason why. Shadow work can be very helpful in helping us to move past traumatic situations or bad things that have happened in our past, or even situations where we didn't get emotional validation the way that we needed it. The first time that I really started utilizing shadow work within my life was during my divorce in 2017. Obviously, divorce is a very painful time and it can be a very traumatic situation. But having shadow work helped me to validate my feelings and validate what I was going through really helped me to move through that situation in a way that I really don't believe that I could without it. Many people utilize shadow work to help validate things that they didn't have validation on as a child. It helps us to find closure with situations where maybe we weren't able to get closure by talking to someone or reliving a moment and being able to do it differently. The thing about shadow work is that although time travel may not be real, as far as I know, it is a way for us to kind of travel to the past in a sense and find closure and find healing for something that we weren't able to find healing for before. One of the most common misconceptions that I find within spiritual communities that I honestly don't really understand is people who say that we are spiritual beings living a human existence here. And they morph that into a reason to not feel emotions and not be human. Your goal as a spiritual being living a human existence is not to not feel emotions and experience pain or experience joy. It is to experience those things and feel them completely, because you cannot do that in the same way in the spirit realm as a spiritual being. By experiencing pain, experiencing joy, and experiencing all of the different kinds of emotions that humans can experience, you are having the human experience. That is what it is. So by utilizing shadow work, we're actually opening up these gates to allow ourselves the ability to actually experiencing being human, but also it helps us to have a clearer path forward towards our goals and manifestations, simply because sometimes we can emotionally keep ourselves back if we have things that we haven't worked through from our past that is holding us back from utilizing our confidence and moving forward. To best explain ways that shadow work can be helpful, I want to go through a metaphor. I know I use metaphors a lot, but I find them super helpful, and I hope that you do too. The first metaphor is that you are in a relationship. Things are going very well, things are going great, and then all of a sudden you get hit by a truck. Your partner breaks up with you. No, the ending of a love story, I hate it. I already hate this scenario so much. You're heartbroken. You did not see it coming at all. And as far as you knew, it just hit you out of the blue. After allowing yourself to feel all of the emotions, good, bad, and ugly, you finally come to the place of reflection. You realize that there were things that you had done in the relationship to maybe contribute to that ending. And there were also things that your partner did to contribute to that ending. Maybe you could have done things differently. Maybe you could have repaired things. But you are where you are right now. Your previous partner has asked you to not reach out to them and to let things lie where they did. But now you're having trouble because you don't feel like you really have the closure that you need. With shadow work, you can go through everything that happened in meditation or dream work and call in that partner's higher self. Within meditation, you can imagine that person coming up to you with a box and you exchanging boxes with each other to represent you gaining back your energy that you gave to them and them gaining back their energy they gave to you. From there, you can go into a scenario where you're talking to that person and telling them everything that you wish that you could have told them when you were with them in person. How much you love them, how much you cared about them, how much you're sorry that your actions may have hurt them or caused an ending to your partnership and connection. Then you're able to go through the scenario of thanking them for the experience and thanking them for their connection with you and helping you to learn more about yourself as well as more about the world around you, showing gratitude for what you experienced with them and memories that you'll hold with sentimentality. And then at the end, you can agree to let go and hug them, thank them, show gratitude, show love, and then walk away. It's a scenario that can help us find closure and help find healing for situations where we may have not been able to find that healing otherwise. For me, in my divorce, I was having a really hard time knowing that I had done something to contribute to my marriage ending. I carried a lot of guilt and a lot of shame about feeling lonely and feeling unwanted within the relationship. I also carried so much guilt for leaving behind my 2 puppies that I had gotten with my fiance when we were still newly engaged, and then having to leave them behind when we got a divorce, knowing that there was a possibility that I could become homeless, and I didn't know what I would do if they were with me in that scenario. It was an extremely hard decision, and it felt like I was leaving my kids behind. The first couple weeks of being separated from my partner at the time was the hardest. I felt like there was this hole in my chest that I just couldn't fill. It felt like someone had ripped my heart out, torn it to shreds, and then tried to throw it back into my body, and it was just not going to do the job that it needed to do. It wasn't until I started utilizing shadow work every time I felt those strong waves of emotion come up that I started finding some relief. Every time I would feel the guilt come up about the things that I had done to contribute to the marriage ending, I would lay there in bed sobbing and wishing that I was dead. And then I would go into meditation and come to him, and we would sit across from a river together. I would imagine the memories that we had together and the good times that we had together in little boxes. And I would open the box, watch the memory, and reminisce with him. I would talk to him about it and tell him how much I enjoyed and saw that memory as something that I would hold dear to me. I told him that I was sorry and that I was remorseful that I wasn't able to be what he needed me to be in order to keep moving forward in a way that was making us stronger and not tearing us apart. Then I would thank him for being part of my life. I would thank him for showing me what I needed to learn and showing me parts of myself that I wouldn't have found otherwise. I thanked him for bringing me painful experiences that I could grow from. And I thanked him for giving me the experiences that we had over the 6 years that we were together. Although I still have memories that bring up emotion around my past marriage, they're not nearly as impactful emotionally as they were the first times that I experienced them. And it's a lot easier to reminisce on that time with gratitude and love and joy, looking back on a lot of the memories that we had together. Shadow work doesn't change the past. It doesn't change what happened, but it does allow us to have a lot of clarity and release for emotions that we hold around scenarios. The way that I like to look at past trauma is as wounds. For deep trauma, you may have a bullet wound or a stab wound, but for everyday trauma or everyday difficult situations, you might have a little cut or a little scrape. When we first experience deep trauma, we don't know how to deal with a bullet wound because we've never dealt with one before. It's a new and painful experience that introduces us to emotional turmoil, a pain that we have never felt before, searing through our skin, and we're just reacting out of sheer panic of how to fix it and how to make ourselves feel better. You stuff it with gauze, you put Band-Aids over it, you baby it, you ignore it, you feel it, but nothing helps, only time. Over time, as that wound starts healing, maybe you don't feel it as much, but every time you hit it and every time you touch it, it's sore and it's painful. If you don't give yourself the ability to continuously clean that wound and give it a place to heal properly, then it's going to grow infected and it's going to affect you for longer. By stuffing it down, putting a Band-Aid over it and pretending that it's not there, it's not going to make it go away and it's not going to heal on its own. Sometimes we have to pull off the Band-Aids and have a painful experience of putting antibiotics on it or cleaning it out with alcohol, which can sting and hurt and be so painful and uncomfortable in the moment. But at the end, we have this relief of knowing that we're able to rest until the next time that we need to change the bandage again. In addition to this scenario, we also have people around us, like the people who love us the most, that want to help change those bandages when they can. Sometimes it's easier for us to clean those bandages by ourselves, and sometimes it's easier for us to have someone else take that bandage off for us, put that alcohol in, and have some support as we go through that experience. Sometimes people know how to help heal those wounds because they've dealt with bullet wounds before as well. So they try to help us, but we recoil and lash back because they're hurting us. And what we don't realize is that that person is not hurting us just to hurt us. They're hurting us to help us. Shadow work can help us understand what we are truly feeling in that moment, but it can also help us realize what others are feeling in those moments as well. So the next time you have a traumatic experience come up, the next time you have a painful memory, I encourage you to sit with yourself and feel that. Feel it completely and allow yourself to sink into that feeling for a moment so that you know exactly how you feel. Ask yourself how you're feeling, what you're feeling, and don't be ashamed to answer. There is no right or wrong way to feel about anything. You might feel angry about something that someone else feels happy about, and that's okay. By acknowledging what exactly you are feeling in that moment and being honest about it, it takes the power away from something that is pulling us down. Our subconscious, or our shadow self, is the part of us that carries our vices and carries our wants and desires. By constantly denying our subconscious and our shadow self, we're only feeding the monster. I'm sure you've had an experience where someone has told you that you can't do something and it makes you want to do it more. That's exactly what happens with your shadow self and your subconscious. I like to think of my subconscious as another me, but a very, very emotional me, which is saying a lot because I cry about nearly everything. But when you're having an emotional reaction and when we push down those feelings, basically what we're doing is we're turning to our shadow self or our subconscious and saying, no, you don't get to feel that. You're not allowed. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to feel it more and it's going to be worse. So the next time you are feeling something, whether that is anger, sadness, happiness, whatever it is, try, instead of saying, I'm not allowed to feel this, I'm feeling too much, I'm feeling something that I shouldn't be feeling, and pushing it down, try saying, you know what? I am allowed to feel this. I am allowed to feel angry. I am allowed to feel sad. And that's okay. And see the difference that you feel in having that reaction as opposed to telling yourself that you're not allowed to feel that way. That right there is shadow work. Shadow work is really just a fancy way of saying validation. So I encourage you to try that next time you're feeling emotions and see how you feel. And maybe it will help, maybe it won't. But shadow work truly has changed my life and really helped me to find a lot of clarity for past situations that I've had, as well as emotions that I still work through today. It doesn't change the past, but it helps us to find more peace with it. I hope this helped you understand shadow work a little bit more, and I hope it helped you feel a little bit more encouraged in trying it for yourself. As always, stay safe, stay curious, and keep learning. And for those interested in booking a session with me, you can do so by signing up for the waitlist on my website, www.arielwillow.com, and going to the services page. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon.